Chacham sit down. One guy loves steak, and one guy loves donuts.
The donut guy's skinny though. It's not even.
Yeah, it was no sheikhs. But so the donut guy said he could eat 25 donuts, and the steak guy said he could eat 5 steaks. Now those were good steaks. Mr. Steak over there sat down as that one.
5 steaks like this.
What? Yeah.
Do is be a machutza.
He got through steak 1. He got through steak 2. Already by steak 3, he was slowing. By the end of steak 3, he tapped out. And his point was that when it comes to food, the more you have, the less you enjoy it. Which, of course, is a point for everyone. The question is it eventually adkan? All you can eat. Eventually, it's adkan. You guys got to throw up. But his point was when it comes to Torah, and this is what he does in yeshiva there. And I would love to find the time to do it. He does like a 4-hour seder with food and drinks and the whole 9 yards. You turn your phone off, you disappear from the world, and Lamaisa, as you get into it more and more, the Ilam gets more and more into it. I would love to find the time to do it. I don't have to do 4 hours. That's a little bit extreme. But even, an hour and a half, would be what I think would be gishmak. I don't know. Something to think about what, where, and when. But anyways, for now, we pick it up. We're in the middle of discussing Psal Hayoytze Min HaSukkah, a conversation that we've had many, many times. We're on your Testament Aleph. We're about 2/3 of the way down. I apologize, I did not send out a recording today. I just got, I'm not going to even make an excuse. There was absolutely no excuse. I just forgot. That was it. Finished. So, either way, without excuses, let's continue. Psal Hayoytze Min HaSukkah, we learned that the psal, the schach that extends out of a sukkah, has a din of a sukkah. The question is, what does that mean? And just to remind yourselves where we've spoken about this. We spoke about this, for example, when we had our sukkahs all the way in the back in the Masechta, we had our sukkah, it's more than 20 amos. So what do we do to fix it? We built a platform. And we said, okay, great, so your platform's there, you're on the platform, everything is good. And everyone asked the obvious kasha, what about the part that's not on the platform? What about the other part? Can you eat there? And we quoted, if you remember correctly, we quoted a Rashi. The Rashi seemed to say it as a din of psal hayoytze min HaSukkah, and you could sit there. And we said we're going to get there, and this is where we are now. So yesterday we started, and we had already, I think we learned yesterday, 2 different pshatim. I'm gonna also, because it's a Thursday, I'm gonna wind it back a little bit, just because I don't want to have these gemaras lost. We're gonna pick it up from the 2 dots, smack in the middle. And I forgot the reason why I introduced with that video is to give chizik to Chazara. Give chizik to Chazara. I think every time we give the chizik, we all walk back afterwards saying that Lamaisa we all gain from it. So just like we have to be mechazik, that's all. We just have to try. We have to try. Has anyone been mechazik during the day, or it's not happening? Do the recordings. People are listening. People are checking a little bit. Okay, listen, that's a start. I'll be honest, the reason why I like the recording, I don't know, maybe to think that everyone should do it. If not, I wouldn't look at the Gemara. I'm just going to be perfectly blunt and honest over here. It just, you're busy, you're this, you're that. When I know I make a recording, so what do? I take my phone, I take my Gemara, I walk outside for 2 minutes, and I do it. So, I don't know, maybe everyone wants to do the same. I don't know if anyone's embarrassed to read the Gemara. But whatever it is, and I'll just tell you for myself, and I've, Baruch Hashem, learned these Gemaras. This is not a gaiva. I've learned these Gemaras many, many times. Actually, I learned this in the Mir. I learned Sukkah in the Mir by Rav Asher, Baruch Hashem. I don't know if we got to Utah. We got very, very far. It was a summer's man. But even still, every time you read it again and again and again. So I encourage everyone to try to do the same, and I think we're all going to reap the reward. So Tana, we learned in a Mishnah, we're taking smack in the middle of Yud Testament Aleph, a little bit of a running start. And again, I just remind yourselves, why do I keep saying to read it yourself? Because Chazara has 2 aspects. Number one is when you listen. Number one is when you review it, is you understand it, which is incredible. But there's an additional element when you read it, you get fluent in reading it, which, we always make mention in Mirta Hashem, everyone will have boys, and everyone's going to want to learn Gemara with their boys one day, and we don't want to be that father that, quickly sneaked art school under our desk as we're trying to read the Gemara with our sons, So if we don't start, we don't want to have to get, God bless you, Nachi, what's going on here? Shtickle sesame chicken up the nose? 10 times. 10 times. Okay, so keep on shoving the sesame chicken up your nose if that's what works. Tana, we learned in the Mishnah. Psal hayoytze min HaSukkah. Let's go. The psal, the schach that extends off the sukkah, has the din of the sukkah. Says the Gemara, my psal hayoytze min HaSukkah. What does that mean? Amar Ula, first pshat, kana hayoytze min HaSukkah. The branches that extend over the back of the sukkah. Ask the Gemara, Vabin and Shalosh Stefanis in 3 walls. Answers the Gemara, but the Ika, if you remember the picture from yesterday, the walls extend outwards. Vabin and Hechsher Sukkah, in either sides of a sukkah, which of course we know is 7 by 7 tefachim at least. Says the Gemara, but the Ika, there is. Vabin and Sasim Chamas, you need more shade than sun. Answers the Gemara, but the Ika. Says the Gemara. Remember, what's the chiddush? You just said you have a whole sukkah there. Ma'u the Tema answers the Gemara, very interesting chiddush. Since it was made for the inside ligavoy, ulibroi, and for the outside loyavidi was not made a maloi. Maybe there's a din in a wall that the wall has to be. Genachi adkan. Gesundheit, Gesundheit, God bless you. Sei gesund. Alle brachas like Sufis Bataira. Weiter, okay. Oh mine, okay. Loevidi. Maybe it's not made for inside the sukkah. Maybe there's a din by the. You don't have to leave. I was joking. Maybe it wasn't made for. So maybe there's a din by the wall that the wall has to be made for that direction. Kamash Milan. It does not. Pshat number 1, Ula. Pshat number 2, Rabba v'Rav Yosef. Dami Tervayu. Hacha bekanim hayotzim lifnim, and that's like we learned this yesterday. Umashcha, and it draws literally. Mashach means to draw, to extend. Va'azla, and it goes. Chada doifen b'adai. One wall extends with your schach. So you have a sukkah, then as it extends, you have one wall going out with schach on top of it, and you're under that area. So ma'u the tema, I would have thought a less me'achshir sukkah. L'maisa, when you're in that extended area, do you have 3 walls? No, you have 1 wall. Kamash malan, because it's coming off of an area, therefore it is kosher. And just to make mention, like we mentioned before, the case of the tall sukkah, you can start to understand how it could work. It's mamish the same case, right? You have a kosher sukkah in one area, the schach extends, part of the sukkah extends, and therefore it could be kosher. Obviously, there are differences. You could say over there it's too tall, over here it's 1 wall, but we can start to understand it. Pshat number 2. Pshat number 3. Rabba Barachano Amar Rav Yechon. We're about 14 lines at the bottom. The first one line is Amar. Loi nitzracha ela l'sukkah sheruba tzilasa meiruba mechamas umiuta chamasa meiruba mitzilas. What does that mean? Most of the sukkah. What happens by most of the sukkah? Ruba tzilasa meiruba chamasa. It has more shade than sun. Umiuta, but there's an area in the sukkah which has more of the sun than shade. And if you think about it, our sukkahs have this often. Sometimes, the mat doesn't reach all the way, or you throw up a few little pieces and like they're a little bit sparse. So 1 second, over that area, could you sit there? Because that area only has a few schach. It's more sun than shade. So ma'u detema, I would have thought, tipasel bahach porta, that little bit should be pasul. Kamash malan, that it's kosher, and you could even sit under that area. So it says Gemara, beautiful pshat. But my yoitze, what was the lashon of ula to start? Sal the schach hayoitze that goes out. What's yoitze? Yoitze may hechsher sukkah. It goes out from the hechsher sukkah. Givaldik pshat number 3.
Why would that area not be good?
Because there's no schach. There's no schach. It's not. The schach is puzzle.
What's the requirement for a sukkah to be kosher?
Good.
Filter remover
Good.
plus.
Good. So you don't have it.
Start
You don't have it.
if we said.
Oh.
Ruba.
Good. 1 second.
You could break down.
Perfect.
any
Perfect.
concepts
Good. So I'm gonna play it the case a little bit extreme, and I think if we look at it a little more extreme, it'll make it easier for us to understand. Let's say in this room, this is a sukkah, and all the schach until those middle poles is amazing schach. After the middle poles, for 1 inch is great, and the rest of it you have like a few little sparsely things. Can you sit under that side?
Yeah,
One would think perhaps that area is not a sukkah. So again. Good. So again. So that's the chiddush here. No, you're right. The chiddush is that we don't don each area. Which again, if the Gemara would have said the exact opposite, we would have been the first to say, here, because this area has schach and that area doesn't have schach. Look at the next case. The next case is going to be even more extreme. Look at the next shot. Again, each one of these is different ways of learning, but I hear the kasha. Look at the next shot. Rav Aishia, Mar says Rav Aishia, shot number 4. Loi nitzcha ella l'schach pasul. You have pasul schach, pachais mishleisha. less than 3 tfachim, which we know is kosher, but it's besukkah kitana. So now things are getting a little bit hairy, and this sort of points out what you were saying. Because you were all saying, what do you mean? You have a kosher sukkah, do what you want. 1 second. So first of all, so that was the chiddush, that once you have a kosher sukkah, it can extend, givaldik. Now here, which by the way, I'm sorry to go back for a second. Why is it roiv? Why is it roiv? We said ruba, the roiv. The reason is, it's incredible. It's working with the dinam of roiv. The miot is bottle. What do you mean it's bottle, Rabbi? There's no slach there. It's a very big chiddush. We know usually we don't say things are bottle when you could see them. You don't say bottle. That's how it's working over the pashas with roiv. But either way, let's go to the next one. Rav Aisha says, Rabbi Yaakov Erev Tov, Rabbi Roosevelt Jr. Erev Tov, Yetesam and Aleph. We're about 10 lines to the bottom. The first one line is Mehechsher Sukkah. We're in the middle of discussing Psala Yotzim in a Sukkah, the extension of our schach and different pshatim and what that means. We have 3 pshatim up to the 4th pshat, which is Rav Aishia Amar Lo Nitzchal Schach Pasel. You have Pasel Schach Pachas Mishleisha, less than 3 Tfachim Besukkah Kitana, in a small sukkah. So let's just envision your whole sukkah is 7 by 7. Within your 7 by 7, which you need every inch of it, you have 2.9 Tfachim of Pasel Schach. That's a big chiddush now. Because 1 second, you don't have a kosher sukkah. This is such a big chiddush. When we learned a few daf ago, we said this doesn't work. So it didn't work over there because it didn't work in the dinam of sukkah. It's working with the new chiddush of psal hayotzim in a sukkah. Says the Gemara, Pachas b'shlosh tvachim sukkah. I'm sorry. Pachas b'shlosh tvachim sukkah. Umay yoytzi, what does it mean? It goes out. Yoytzi mi toiras sukkah. Goes out for the toiras sukkah. But the chiddush of our Gemara is that it's going to be kosher. Again, just to play this out, you have 5.1 tfachim of kosher schach. You have 2.9 tfachim of pasel schach. And what are we saying? Everything is kosher. So much so, you can even sit under the pasel schach. You agree this is a chiddush already?
It's a din in Roiv. If it was din in the schach.
No, it's not a din in Roiv. It's not a din in Roiv. It's din in Gimel Tfachim. Because pasel schach goes by Gimel Tfachim. So what the chiddush here is that once you have Gimel Tfachim, you don't have Gimel Tfachim. Yeah. So you're saying you check your boxes?
No.
That's what you're asking.
What makes schach puzzle?
Puzzle.
If there's gimel
Good.
tefachim worth of not kosher stuff.
No, but this has
So
to be a
if it's
chiddush.
less than gimel.
We learned to daf ago that the other mandamer holds this is not good. And we're going to see in a second when it comes to avir, when it comes to airspace, we're going to all hold that. So I agree. I want to put the question on the table. I think it's a very valid question, and I think it just brings out the chiddush of the Gemara. The point that everyone here is wondering. I don't understand. You fulfilled your requirement. You have your 3 walls. You have your schach. Who cares that there's a dot of the sukkah that's like this? Kol tov, it's all good. That is the chiddush of psal hayotzim in a sukkah. That you have psal, you have extra schach that's extending over your Torah sukkah, your hechsher sukkah. That's the chiddush here of the Gemara that it works. Ask the Gemara, Maskler Rav Aishia, 1 second. Lo yehi schach pasel should be ella like avir. It should be like air. Va'avir, and if you have air in your sukkah, pachais mi gimel tvachim, b'sukkah getana, mi pasel? Is it pasel? The sukkah is kosher. Why is it kosher? Because of a lavud. Says the Gemara. Who cares that it's pasel schach, which I think is partially what's bothering everyone here. Who cares that there's pasel schach? Lavud says it closes itself up. Answers the Gemara, Amarli Rav Abba, no. Ze mitztaref v'yeshenim tachtov. So here we're going to bring out the chiddush. The pasel schach, as long as it's not gimel tfachim, it's mitztaref to your shir sukkah, and can even sleep underneath it. Just if you get inventive over here, l'maisa halacha, we don't do these things l'chatchila, but it's going to pour. Even if it rains, we do. Let's get 2.9 tfachim of plastic. 2.9 tfachim is not so small. It's not so small. And then get some mukasha schach, get some more plastic, positioned in a way that basically you can be in your sukkah and not go wet. It says you could be yashi tachtav. So we don't do these things. We'll give a chiddush afterwards. Says the Gemara, mitzarif yeshenim tachtav, zeh mitzarif ve'ein yeshenim tachtav. If you were to have 2.9 tfachim of airspace, you're not allowed to sit under that area. A massive chiddush. Why are you not allowed to sit under that area? Lavud closes it up. The answer is because you have no schach. I hear you, pasel schach. That's the chiddush of psal hayotzim in a sukkah. Says the Gemara. Ask the Gemara a question almost misvara. on the very bottom of Yutesam and Aleph. Umiika midi. Is there something? Reb Nachum Erev Tov. Miika midi. Did sarufe mitzarif? V'chu atzmai inay kosher? Says the Gemara. Misvara. This is absolutely wild. Are you going to tell me something is a mitzarif? It combines to your shir sukkah, but it itself is not kosher to sleep underneath it. You're telling me you have 5.1 tfachim of kosher schach. You have 2.9 tfachim of airspace. Says the Gemara Chiddush. The whole sukkah is kosher, but you can't be under that area. How does that make any sense? Says the Gemara. I don't understand. If you can't be under that area, that means it's not part of your sukkah. If it's not part of your sukkah, you don't have a kosher sukkah. If you could have a kosher sukkah, you should be able to be under that area. And the Gemara's question, as you'll see in a moment, is almost asking misvara. Almost asking and wondering, how is this possible? Because look at the Torah, it's a shtickle anticlimactic. Amar Rav Yitzchak ben Elyashiv. No big deal. We have such a thing. What's such a thing? Tit hanoroik. Tit is a type of mud. Hanoroik, which is pourable. Yochiach will prove to you that what? Shemitz tarif arba'im sa. If you have pourable tit, it combines to the shear of memsa, 40 sa, which is the shear of a kosher mikvah. Ve ha toivel boy, loy also loy tefillah doesn't work. So what do we see? We see just like the airspace. It combines to the kosher mikvah, but it itself is not kosher. So what's coming out over here, and this is the reason why, so you see that something could combine without itself being kosher. So what is the point that it combines, you're asking? So in the mikvah, it's a good question, but let's go back to our case. In our case, we can understand it easier. In our case, let's say this whole area is 7 by 7 tefachim, and I have airspace over here, so the rest of the sukkah is kosher. You just can't sit underneath the airspace. That's the Gemara's kasha.
Possible mikvah, then why would it possible?
No, it doesn't possible the mikvah. The mikvah is kosher. You just can't go into that area. No, what is
that area?
you can't go into again? I'm saying it that way just because there's no other way to understand it. Because water is a mixable item, which I think is what's bothering everyone, and that's a mikvah sugi that we're gonna have to, God willing, one day figure out. But in our world, what does this mean? And let's just speak out this chiddush, and we have to have a ma'ariv. When it comes to schach pasel, what's happening over here? 2.9 tfachim of schach pasel is machshering, is making making my sukkah kosher, and I could sit under the schach pasel. But the airspace I cannot. Now, if you're wondering what's the chilik and why is this true and how does this work, it's a beautiful question. But all that it brings out is that it's obviously not so pashut. Because it was so pashut that both cases will work. We'll stop over here. Siyata d'shmaya.